Hi guys, rise and shine. We grind, we are all fine, and the sun shines for yours and mine. My name is Tyrone Green, and welcome back to my show. Today I'll be talking about quiet, quiet. Yes, learning how to be quiet. I and we'll be learning about responses. Excuse me, I said on um, being quiet and learning how to respond at certain moments. I feel like I wanted to touch up on this mainly because of the fact that it's important for us to learn how to be quiet and to choose when to respond in certain moments. You know what I mean? I feel like even for myself, you know what I mean? Because I go through the same thing as well, learning how to be quiet at certain moments. I feel that as human beings and because of the world that we live in today, you know what I mean? When it comes to emotions or characteristic traits like jealousy, envy, and all types of these things, you know what I mean? We have to definitely watch out in terms of the people we tell, you know what I mean? We could not read the signs. There are some people that don't even pay attention to like the red flags or anything like that within a person that says, oh, maybe I might be telling a little bit too much, or oh, maybe that person might be jealous of me. So maybe I might have to limit myself or limit the amount of access of knowledge that's given. You know what I mean? We have to limit it. But yes, being quiet is it's definitely what I would say. It takes courage and it takes bravery, as well as a spirit of boldness to be able to self control yourself and be disciplined and being quiet when it comes to certain situations. Um, like I said, or like I wanted to say, we live in such a spiritual world. We live in such a world where, you know what I mean, we have to limit the amount of information or the amount of access that we can give a person, and using the discernment that we have and using the good judgment as well as using the signs given by God, we be able to pay attention to those things. I feel that it is imperative for us to pay attention to those things. Um, I feel that it saves you time and it saves you energy when it comes to people that can't interpret where you're coming from or from your or understanding your standpoint. You know what I mean? I feel that being quiet definitely helps when it comes to not not feeding the fuel into conflict. You know what I mean? And it comes from it comes from people who don't believe in you. You know, we have a major thing, with staying quiet. Some of us would like to stay quiet. Some of us would even like to go. But for both sides, it's important for us to stay quiet in those times. In times of conflict, because staying quiet not only lets you know that you're the bigger person, but it also calms the situation down for others. It calms the situation down, saying that, okay, let me be the bigger person within this situation, or just be, let me be better in the situations that I make by just being quiet and probably listening to that person and just letting them explain whatever they need to explain. Um, I feel that the power of keeping your mouth shut is such a powerful thing. It's such a spiritual and powerful thing. It helps always being steps ahead, you know what I mean? It helps us when we are trying to when we're trying to just be quiet, you know, when we're trying to be quiet, we're trying to reevaluate situations. We're also trying to observe more than to react off of every aspect. And I say it helps always being steps ahead, because that's where the reevaluating comes in, or the evaluation comes in, or observing and soaking up the juices, the knowledge. I feel that because of the quiet ones, you know what I mean? When we are quiet, we are definitely observing and taking in information. There's, I don't, and that's where the creativity sparks. I don't really feel that there isn't anybody that has the power of keeping their mouth shut. You know what I mean? I don't feel that nobody doesn't learn anything, you know? I feel that there are a lot of people that learn things just from being quiet, or it's just a matter of just paying attention to situations, because if you can pay attention to some to the red flags within a situation and just remain quiet, then you'll be able to understand how to observe those situations a little bit more and read off of people's body language and the way they speak. Um, and with responses, just the same as responses, like you control yourself to be quiet, you have to learn how to respond, you know what I mean, in different times, different tones, and different places. You know, that's something that we all work on, and that's something that is important as human beings, because reaction doesn't get a situation better, nor does it grow us. It just keeps on having us in a stagnated situation and not letting us grow correctly. Um, I feel that responses only lead to more conflict, especially when it's argumentative. Uh, I feel that, like, we have to know when not to use our expression, you know. We also have to learn how to use it. We have to learn how to express ourselves in certain ways, in certain shapes and forms. There's a time and a place, and when you take a person and say, "Come here, I want to be able to conversate with you. I want to pull you back for a second." That'll be the time to express yourself on any forms of things that you might be going through. I feel that choosing the times to respond is the most important thing, because of the fact that it could it might not just be the best place, it might not be the best time, and it could definitely cause not only confusion, but it can cause confliction within a certain situation. You know, I feel that responses can lead to a greater outcome, but it can also lead to more of a defensive reactionary state. You know what I mean? It could lead more to conflict arising within our lives. You know, I feel that that's why I wanted to also speak about being quiet, you know, because being quiet and being responsive is something that we both need to that both needs to be self-controlled. Excuse me. I feel that responses responses are something that is needed, but something that's not needed. And when I say that, it is something that needs to be controlled. Like, we need to learn how to use our voice, but when we don't use our voice, or when the time isn't right to use our voice, then that is the time we should stay quiet. You know what I mean? There's self control when it comes to both sides. It's like good and bad. Um, and the power within the tongue, it comes from how you control your mouth and what comes out of your mouth. I feel that as human beings, we don't learn how to control the things that we say. We don't learn how to control our emotions. And it comes with the emotions first, because sometimes we speak out of emotion. Sometimes we speak out of a feeling, and we don't speak out of maybe realism. We don't speak out of reality. I feel that it also comes from how much information you receive and release within your life. Response Responses definitely is something that you need to be able to take your time in. And when I say take your time, I mean take your time in using different responses, or take your time in using what response you might use, or how you'd be able to explain something to a person without releasing so much. I feel that it's important to find out a specific reason as to how, or a specific strategy on how you'll be able to release information, is by using simple conversations. You can start off by having simple conversations about that, or just saying no. Saying no is another thing. You know what I mean? And we have a hard time saying no sometimes when it comes to when it comes to things being released. I feel that when it comes to sometimes information, until it is released, until it is put into the atmosphere, and until you're working on it, that should be the only time you talk about it. I feel that should be the only time you talk about it. You know what I mean? And releasing information is hard. It is hard, but I'm not going to say that, because the power of the tongue is strong. What I will say is the fact that it is what you make of it. Life is what you make of it. So if you think that responding or giving out certain types of information is going to be hard for yourself, or being quiet is going to be hard for yourself because you know that you're a talkative person, then you got to say, you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm not going to know. I am going to learn how to self control myself. I'm going to learn how to be a better person. I'm going to learn how to give different types of information that doesn't have a widespread effect. I'm not going to share a whole heap of information to just anybody. You know what I mean? Because you're going to want to share it to the ones that you love. You're going to want to share it to other people that you love too, because you want them to do better. But it all counts within what will they do with that information in return? How will they react when it comes to you giving that information? Will it benefit them in the long run? Will they take it, or will it bounce back off like a wall, like a ball on the wall? You know, um, and that's all what it boils down to. And one thing I want to share with you is Mark chapter 15, verses 3 through 4, and it says, And the chief priests accused him of many things, but he answered nothing. Then Pilate asked him again, saying, "Do you answer nothing? See how many things they testify against you?" See, I found that very interesting because of the fact that Jesus stayed quiet throughout that whole trial. He stayed quiet and he did not shed a word because he knew his truth. He knew the truth. He knew to keep his mouth shut and not release certain parts of information that weren't to be released. And I feel that even right now, it's teaching me a lot of things about myself that I need to learn how to control. You know what I mean? Because believe it or not, we deal with a life of a whole heap of jealous people, envious people, and sometimes they find different types of ways to try to accuse us for every single thing that we do. But what are we to do? Are we going to feed into those same types of things, or are we going to feed into our anger and just wind up doing something stupid we're gonna regret? That might just feed into their own testifying against us. You know what I mean? Or are we going to be quiet and just let God handle it? Are we going to be still and just let God handle every situation that comes? And are we going to pray about it as well? Are we going to just, because we have to pray about it. We have to not only be quiet and be still, but we also have to pray. Because the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Sometimes the enemy hides themselves in sheep's clothing, woven sheep's clothing, you know what I mean? So we definitely have to be careful with how much we release, being quiet, even at the times we are being testified against. I feel that as human beings, we are just beautifully created to the point where knowledge is limitless for us. There is no limit to our knowledge or power, and I feel that because of that is just an amazing thing on how much knowledge we gain, but it's also more important and impactful on how much information we share. You know, you have to learn not to share certain parts of information that could definitely lead to our defeat, because release of information can definitely lead to your own defeat. It can lead into the enemy knowing almost everything about you because you told them. Because you told them. And, it's important just to stay quiet. Um, when it comes to responses, Proverbs chapter 31, verse 8 through 9 says, "Open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute. Open your mouth, judge righteously, and defend the right of the poor and the needy." And that, from the top of my mind, comes with responses and the way that you control them. You're controlling your responses in the way where you're doing it for good. You're expressing yourselves for the ones that can express themselves. You're expressing yourselves for the ones who want to express themselves but don't have enough authority or power, or feel that they are weak. But you are a vessel of God saying that I'm here for you, brother or sister. I'm here for you. You know what I mean? And that's where the power of the tongue comes from, is how you open your mouth. And I feel that that just shows the signification of how to open your mouth, how you should open your mouth. And that is self control within itself. Um, Always want you to remember throughout trials and tribulations of being quiet and learning how to respond and picking up and discerning those red flags within the people that you have to watch out for, because we have monitoring spirits. We definitely have monitoring spirits around. So it's important for us to learn how to be able to discern and learn how to use information wisely. Um, but throughout all of your trials and tribulations, I want to let you know that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue shall rise again that shall rise against thee, and the judgment shall condemn. And when I say that, every tongue that rises against you, every tongue that boasts and says wrong about you, they will receive God's wrath, because we are God's children. And anybody that talks about his children or that tries to make him bad, they wind up receiving, they are on the receiving end, or the receiving end. So it's important for us to always have faith within ourselves, have faith in our self-control, have faith that we can be able to be quiet in times of need, no matter how much information we want to release. We are smart individuals, and we know exactly what we're doing, and we know exactly what we're capable of. We know exactly what type of responses that we can give off, what responses that we cannot give off. And we can understand, and we can cultivate an understanding of how to just self-control ourselves when it comes to being quiet and responding overall. I ultimately hope that this was a blessing to you guys. I will leave a link down to from my last video. If I'm not mistaken, my last video was about learning how to basically make sure your positive and negative thoughts are at a balance. Excuse me. I'll leave that description, leave the link for that description below. And if this was a big help to you guys, I hope that you guys can leave a thumbs up. And I love you guys. Hope you guys have a blessed one, and see you guys later.